And that looks like it's preparing to stream live.
Yeah.
Is filling out.
So now we're ready to hit broadcast at the top, I think, Caleb.
Okay, and then I see that we don't have either supervisor, Molly.
Yeah, so.
So should I just go right into it?
Yeah.
All right, everyone, thank you.
And then give a few minutes for people to jump in. You'll see the participants are jumping at the bottom there.
Good, I'm glad you're here.
And panelists, I'm going to mute you unless it's your turn to speak, just to keep it cleaner.
All right, we're up to 151, 161. Let's give people a few minutes to join. Great. Welcome, Kimberly. All right, we're at 180. All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Nevada County COVID-19 Business Task Force meeting. My name is Caleb Dardick, and I'm a projects manager in the Nevada County CEO's office. Welcome, and welcome to this new format. It's new for me and perhaps some of you as well. We have a full agenda today and already a great deal of interest. 184 people are online, so we're in good company. And this will be recorded, as I said, it's being live streamed on YouTube, and we'll have a recording that we'll also be able to share after the meeting. So we have an hour together. We have, news, as many of you probably already know, coming from the state. And Ryan Gruber, our HHSA director, will give an update on the public health piece of what's going on. Then we'll go into business resource updates from the Sierra Business Council and the CEO's office. And then we're really lucky to have a panel discussion today with a number of local businesses from Truckee, Nevada City, and Grass Valley who can share what they've been doing to adjust and pivot during these challenging times, and which unfortunately aren't over. So with that, I would like to acknowledge that our welcome is usually done by our county supervisors, Vice Chair Dan Miller and Supervisor Ed Schofield, and unfortunately both of them have conflicts today. So with that, I'm going to go directly to Ryan Gruber, our HHSA director, for a public health update. Ryan.
There we go. Can you hear me now? Sorry, there was a little unmuting issue. So after, 10 or 11 months now, we're still figuring out how to unmute ourselves. I know that everybody's getting sick of hearing the word unprecedented, but until I need to consult a thesaurus at some point so that I can start using a different surge, because that's really what this, or word, because that's really what this is. We're seeing an unprecedented surge in COVID-19 cases in Nevada County, the state, and in the nation. In November alone, we saw 706 new cases compared to 642 through the entire pandemic up to that point. That rapid acceleration has continued, and in the first week of December alone, we added 432 cases. As we've seen throughout the pandemic, hospitalizations and deaths tend to lag behind new cases by a few weeks. We as well have started to see hospitalizations inch up towards capacity in ICUs. And then unfortunately, we've also started seeing additional COVID-19 deaths. And I believe as of yesterday, we have 19 COVID-19 deaths in Nevada County. As of Monday, December 7th, we had a shocking 582 active cases. So that's almost a third of the cases we had through the entire pandemic that were active as of the beginning of this month. That certainly impacts the ability to use contact tracing and isolation as a tool. It also limits its effectiveness, and unfortunately also will translate down the line into additional hospitalizations. So it's in that context that the state issued a stay-at-home order last week, triggered regionally by intensive care unit capacity. They split the state up into a number of regions, Nevada County being part of the greater Sacramento region, which I know some folks have taken issue with that grouping, although that is where we tend to transfer patients in Nevada County from our hospitals, is either to Sacramento or, in the case of Tahoe Forest Hospital and Truckee, to Reno, which I know is taking less transfers than they used to. But like much of the state, Nevada County, we, as I mentioned, has seen an increase in hospitalizations and a concomitant reduction in ICU capacity. And so unfortunately, as of today, we have hit the criteria for the stay-at-home order. Our ICU capacity today dipped down to 14.3%, which triggers the greater Sacramento region going into the stay-at-home order on midnight tomorrow night, which means that the first effective day of the stay-at-home order would be Friday. So a little bit in terms of the impacts, the most effective thing will be to direct people to the appropriate resource to look up this information yourself. And so I'll put that information in the chat, but some of what that entails is a ban on non-essential travel, and then significant reductions in business activities, including outright closures. So as an example, restaurants are going back to takeout only. Family entertainment centers and movie theaters are closed. There's a number of other changes to various sectors. Again, I'll post out the link. I did also want to point out what's different from the stay-at-home order in March. Significantly, schools are not affected by this. So in March, we saw the closure of schools. That has not been included in this order. That's something that's been recognized across the nation when we've seen additional shutdowns in other places. Schools, especially in the younger age sets, have typically been exempted from those. Retail under the state stay-at-home order is also allowed for in-person activity. That's significant as we head into the holiday, or as we are in the midst of the holiday shopping season. So retail is having its capacity reduced down to 20%, but is still able to operate indoors. Dental care, which was not allowed under the original state order in March, is allowed under this order. And then child care is also an allowed activity. So once we enter that stay-at-home order, or enter this on Friday, we will have to stay there for at least 3 weeks. And then at the end of that time period, if our ICU capacity is projected to improve, we would exit onto the tiered framework. So that last point, I think, is key. It's too late for us to avoid the ICU capacity trigger, which happened today. But what we do now can definitely contribute how and when we exit the stay-at-home order. So when we exit, we will exit to the tier according to our data at that time. And so if we can, as a community, get our cases down to a lower level than we're currently experiencing, we could potentially have the opportunity to exit the stay-at-home order to a lower tier, to red, to orange, depending on how well we can do with our metrics. So we are not powerless. We may at this point be powerless in terms of how we enter the stay-at-home order, but we're not powerless in terms of how we can exit it. Unfortunately, we know what we need to do, and that's refraining from gatherings, which remain a significant source of spread, maintaining social distance, wearing masks, and all the other things that people like me have been saying until we're blue in the face for the last 10 months. So that's my update. I want to make sure that we have enough space for the other presenters, and I'll attempt to answer any questions that I can in the Q&A. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ryan, so much. And again, we're going to a different format today because usually we have, in the 25 to 50 people, but we know the interest is high. There's already 208 people on the call, so we are using a webinar format. That doesn't give us quite the give and take that we're used to in these meetings. And so what I would request is that you use the Q&A function at the bottom. If you go down to the bottom of your bar, you'll see Q&A. You put your question in there. Many of the people on this call will be able to answer those in real time. And the ones that we can't answer now, we will respond to later. So I thank you for your patience with that. And What we do is want to get out this urgent information that Ryan just shared. It's changing so quickly, and now go to, since so many of you are business people and not working in the nonprofit sector, we'd like to tell you what, or share with you the resources that we know of that are either available now or we expect to be. So let me start with Molly Dick, our Assistant CEO.
Great, thank you, Caleb. And I'll be brief, and I'll continue to try to answer some questions in the Q&A as we go. I really want to spend the majority of our time, though, with our Sierra Business Council, who has been a fantastic resource for businesses, and they're prepared to talk about the programs that are opening up at the state level for business relief. I also want to just share that the county has submitted letters of advocacy to all of our federal legislators, asking them for support with federal legislation to provide continued additional support to local governments in our efforts to support local businesses and to work on this issue at the local level. And with that, Caleb, I think we should recognize our legislative partners that are here on the call. So maybe you can do that as panelists, and then we can move into Kristen York and Leslie from the Sierra Business Council.
Thank you, Molly. That's excellent. And yeah, any solution locally is going to need state and federal partners, and we're really lucky to have the representatives from our local. Many of you may not know, but Nevada County is in 2 congressional districts. So we have David Morgan representing Congressman LaMalfa and Kimberly Pruitt representing Congressman McClintock. And with that introduction, maybe we just go quickly to them and just switch with SBC. So David, I know you're on the telephone. Could you share us what you see coming from Washington to help us here in Nevada County? And David, you're still on mute. There you are.
There we go. Sorry about that. I unmuted when you muted me. Oh, fun. So I've got the bipartisan framework, kind of what we are seeing at the DC level. Right now, it is a $908 billion proposed bipartisan framework. They've got $160 billion allocated for state and local government aid. There's $180 billion for pandemic unemployment benefits. That would be about 4 months of PUC, 3 months of PUA. There's another $288 billion for small business help. There's another $10 billion for broadband. There's numerous other areas on here, including the post office, education, vaccines, childcare, hospital aid. The other one that would be prudent to this would be another $12 billion for community lenders aid and $25 billion for rental assistance. As of yesterday, Majority Leader McConnell said that both the liability relief and the state and local government aid may be thrown out of the compromise because those are 2 of the contention points between both parties. And another note is that the unemployment benefits that the president is looking to try to put on would be $300 a month plus the state benefits. And the president's also looking at trying to do another round of economic impact payments. That would be just $600 to individuals, including children, instead of the $1,200, that we saw earlier in the year. That's kind of the framework. A lot of this may change as time goes on, but that's kind of what we're seeing right now.
All right, thank you, David. I also like to acknowledge that Supervisor Ed Schofield has joined us. Welcome. And go to Kimberly Pruitt with Congressman McClintock's office. Any more to add there? You're still on mute too. The dreaded mute button.
There we go. Sorry about that. I got a new webcam on here. You think I know how to do this by now. No, I think David covered it. The big sticking point right now, to be honest with you, is those 2 points that he talked about, and the state and local government aid and the liability protections for businesses. I'll tell you that the congressman is very, very adamant that we have protections in there for not just small businesses, but also for schools, universities, nonprofits, all of that. I don't think they're going to be able to come to an agreement. So yeah, they probably for this first agreement will have to skip that until January. We have to fund the government and other programs as well. So the protections for businesses are really, really important. It's not, you know, a lot of people say, well, you know, corporation, you know, it's not about profit. Well, it is about protection, though. I mean, we don't have that right now, and that's why a lot of people are very, even after we get through this next wave, are going to be really scared about reopening. So that also, there's still money left over. Congressman McClintock and I know Congressman Malfa signed on as well to a discharge position. There's still $134 billion left over from the first round of CARES Act money in PPP program and other business assistance that we have been working hard to try to get through so that we could get that out immediately. So I just want to put that out there. That's something you can advocate for too, is there's still money left in those programs. The other issue that I know a lot of you that took the PPP loans and did the forgiveness now are getting a huge tax bill from that. And we are looking into fixing that as well, because that's not what it was intended to do. And so I've heard from a lot of small businesses that took the money, did everything that they were required to do, and now they're getting a big tax bill on top of that. So we're looking at all that stuff, and hopefully they'll be able to come to some kind of agreement soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, David. We really appreciate having your advocacy in DC. We have a long way to go, and we're going to need all of our partners. So with that, I'd like to turn to Kristen York, who's Vice President of the Sierra Business Council and has been really at the cutting edge of every single piece of resources out there, getting not only the information, but using their Small Business Development Center to provide individual coaching. And I think that'll still be a great need moving forward. So Kristen.
Great, thank you, Caleb. So for people that don't know what a Small Business Development Center is, it is an organization funded primarily by the federal government with match funding from local sources, for example, Nevada County. We provide free technical assistance for businesses, and suffice it to say, we've been very busy since March. Leslie Williams is our lead counselor. She's on this call, and we have about 14 individual counselors throughout the area with different specialties. Right now, what we're hearing most is people in pretty severe crisis mode trying to figure out what is their best option. Should they close their business for a few weeks during the shutdown and save on their variable costs? And we can help you figure that out. Sometimes it can be just a phone call. Sometimes it can be a long mentoring session or a number of sessions. You don't have to suffer through this alone. There are resources to help you. In addition, we offer a number of free workshops, including workshops on how to pivot your business to online. And we'll provide links in the chat. We also partner with the Economic Resource Council in Nevada County. The Resource Council has been pushing out our workshops and technical assistance, and they provide meetings through Tectonic Tuesdays, primarily for technology businesses. And Sierra Commons is another partner of ours. They do business crisis workshops and e-commerce business igniter workshops. Those are now recorded and on their website at sierracommons.org. So I encourage you to please check those out. So that is it for keeping your sanity. If you are experiencing any legal questions, primarily we're seeing legal questions around lease agreements and what to do, how to talk with your landlord. Our Small Business Development Center, we have a weekly office hours call through our asksbdc.com, where we have a team of attorneys that will take your call. They'll take the calls live in group setting and and answer questions, and they're available for follow-up. That's at asksbdc.com. If you go there, you can sign up for those free office hours. Financing is another big question that people ask. So we just heard about the federal programs available. The state of California has announced a number of new programs. Number one is the California Rebuilding Fund. Those are loans of up to $100,000 at 4.25%. We're already working with several businesses in Nevada County to get them through the pre-application. They're funded through CDFIs. It should be very straightforward funding, but they are loans. Also, there is a new program for small business relief grants that has been announced. Those grants, the applications are likely to open in the beginning of January. They will be administered by one intermediary for the entire state. The grant size is between $5,000 and $25,000 based on your revenues. The maximum qualifying revenues for a business is $2.5 million. There's no floor for that. So I encourage you, we will push that out through our own media, through the county, through the Economic Resource Council and CR Commons as soon as that application is available. It will be a ranked lottery distribution, meaning that businesses that were most impacted in terms of their tier, so restaurants, personal services, et cetera, will have a higher ranking, as well as disadvantaged communities and underserved business ownership groups. So stay tuned for that. In addition, the state has a new sales tax extension for another 3 months, and then a Main Street tax credit, and that's based on hiring. So this is more for in the recovery time. So I would start to look at that next year. I'll pause. I have all of my fingers crossed on the federal programs, which may include additional funding for the county. We're hoping so, because that money was very useful in pushing through the Nevada County Relief Fund, which we are also doing a 4th round of. But it also went directly to help some of our anchor institutions from the county. That's one of those things that's on the table. But there we go. And I am going to spend some time here in the Q&A section and answer some questions, unless Leslie has something she wants to add.
Kristen, did you want to show some slides today, or?
I just spoke to them, and I'll put the links in the chat. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, Leslie, do you want to join in? All right. Well, we are moving at a good pace, which should allow some time for conversation. I did just want to, there was reference to the Nevada County Relief Fund. I think most of you are familiar with this community-based effort. The county put a $100,000 challenge grant out in April to support small businesses and nonprofits. And that has been, the philanthropy from the community in response has been incredible. And we're up to about $800,000 roughly that we've raised and dispersed in 3 rounds. And we're just now fundraising now with the community for a 4th round. This time, unlike previous rounds, which were split 50-50 between small business and nonprofits serving safety net, the safety net folks who really need it, this round is really acknowledging that the change to purple and the further restrictions today are really hitting some businesses harder than others. And so what we want to do is make available micro grants up to $5,000 available to those small businesses. And so we're working out that application process, fundraising right now, with the idea that the application will be out in a week or 2. And hopefully, depending on fundraising, we'll be able to disperse those monies in early January. So that information I'll put in the chat as well is at nevcorelief.org. So if you are a business owner who is doing better than others, or know folks who can, if you can make donations there at the donate button, that'd be much appreciated. And then if you go to the apply page, you can put your name on a mailing list for getting the application as soon as it comes out. So please go there. I'll put this in the chat. Okay, well, with that, we're really lucky to hear directly from businesses. And so we have 4 panelists today to talk about how they are responding to these changes. And I would like to start with Eileen Hancock, who is the owner of Body Balance Academy on Mill Street in Grass Valley. Welcome, Eileen. I know you, of course, as Shifu, as a martial arts instructor.
Hi, everybody. Do you guys have any specific questions for me, or should I just kind of give
Yeah, we'd like to hear how you basically pivoted to be able to continue to work with mostly young people in a safe environment that complies with the public health, state and local public health guidelines. I think that is, been a challenge for many businesses, and I hear that you're doing it well. And, so now that we're in the purple, how have you adjusted, and what maybe tips you could share with folks out in the audience?
So in the beginning, probably like everybody else, I was shell-shocked for sure with the idea of transferring my entire academy online. But fortunately, with some help from my staff, we were able to do that and not have a day missed at all of training. And so one thing I've been trying to do is just stay creative so that the kids who are kind of zoomed out because of learning, online in terms of their school a lot of times, as well as this, just try to make it fun with trivia and things like that. I'm very grateful for the Downtown Association and the City of Grass Valley for helping us to block off Mill Street, because up until I guess now or tomorrow, officially, end of the day tomorrow, we've been able to train outside with masks. My stance has been that there's no reason not to comply, because as far as we are, our prospects, the ones who are complying, are the strongest prospects we have. So they're wanting to be through this like the rest of us, kind of, be out of the woods with the pandemic and bring business back to usual. So everybody's been very good about complying. And yeah, just kind of trying to keep it as creative as possible, work with the technology. We're very fortunate because we're in the old Union building, so we already have stage lights, but being able to put up a monitor and adjust to Zoom, that's really been the Zoom. I'm very grateful for Zoom. It's kind of kept us alive through this. And my hope is that if we can all really bond together as a community, that we can get through this more quickly and all be back to running our businesses as we usually do. Caleb, I think you're still muted.
Yes. Thank you, Eileen, very much for sharing that. And Zoom really showed up just in time for all of us. So with that, I'd like to introduce Lori Flores with Pete's Pizza in Grass Valley. Welcome, Lori. Let me see if I can unmute you, Lori. No.
Okay.
Perfect.
So first I want to thank Kimberly Pruitt, who was saved me by turning me on to Hillary Talbot at Sierra Small Business Council. I was the first Nevada County business to apply for the economic injury disaster loan. As Hillary and I have to mention this because it's pretty hysterical. As we were going through the application, they were changing the forms by the minute. So we would finish one form, and I'm talking, they want your firstborn, right? They would change the form and we'd start all over again. It took us about 2 weeks to finish the first round of economic injury disaster loan, which then became PPP, et cetera. But thank you to Kimberly and Hillary. And third, Marnie Marshall from GVDA. Whew, she's a trooper. She's something else. She's helped us a lot. Providing getting the barriers set up, getting the barriers painted, making it look somewhat appealing to sit outside in the cold and eat pizza. As far as compliance, and again, also thank you to Sheila Cameron for advising me to pick up the PPE boxes from the county, which the masks end up costing a lot of money. So I've had 2 cases of that. That's been very helpful. Hoping to get some more. With compliance, we've followed the state guidelines probably more than most. Everyone is masked. All of my staff is masked at all times. We have shut down to 25, 25, 50, whatever the guidelines were, now to full outdoor dining with our tables 6 feet apart. And now Friday will be takeout and delivery only. One of the things that we did as a restaurant, there's several delivery services, Uber, DoorDash. Well, what they don't tell you necessarily is it costs you about 25% of your ticket to get DoorDash to deliver for you, which is more than the profit margin. So one of the things that I decided to do was insure my own drivers. It costs less than DoorDash. I have more control over quality, and I'm employing 2 extra people. So we do in-house delivery. Please spread the word. We've expanded. I know Domino's and a few other places have a 5-mile radius for delivery. We decided to bump that up to 8 miles. And we decided that if you call me and you have a $200 or $300 order, I'll probably deliver wherever you are, because we want to stay open as long as we can and keep people employed. Enforcement has been, I can't even describe to you some of the things that we've had to deal with. People, when you walk in the door, there's a hand sanitizer everywhere, and there's a pile of masks at the front door and at the counter. And we have a big sign right on the door, must have masks to enter every day. We go through probably a small box of masks, asking people to please put masks on every day. It still boggles the mind, but people don't want to wear them. So that's been a big challenge for these kids that work for me. I call them kids. They're all in their, late teens and 20s, like my kids. And they've had some sticky situations. It's been challenging, but we're sticking to it. Hand washing. We've had safety meetings, 1 a week. We monitor temperatures every day and have a log for all staff. We did have early on a staff member contract mono. We didn't know she had a fever. I closed down for 6 days until she got her results. So I'm taking it super seriously. I have asthma. I'm in high risk category myself. I don't want COVID. I don't want to know if I can survive it. So I'm pretty strict about what goes on inside the shop. I'm sad and disappointed. I know that we have to give up the outdoor dining, but that's going to be a killer for us at Pete's for sure. We have only 5 tables. As I said, they're very far apart. We have no walls up around our tent, and we're taking it down on Friday. We will be following the state mandate and shutting it down. Is there, I don't know what else you want me to touch on. I did want to say, I would, perhaps Leslie or Kristen at some point, in the Q&A portion for maybe the business owner benefits for those of us who got the PPP, I'm wondering, or maybe Kimberly, if there's any talk of converting the EIDL to a forgivable loan. For me, that's a pretty huge, I haven't wanted to touch that because it's a loan. It's not a grant. So
they're different agencies. So no, PPP is through your lender. EIDL is through SBA directly. So
Right.
no, sorry.
Okay. All right.
Lori?
Well, that's, I don't know what else to provide.
No, that's incredible. Really comprehensive, your approach, and the issue around delivery. Now that takeout is going to be the mechanism for staying in business for restaurants. That's key. And I had no idea it was as high as 25%. So your move to hiring your own drivers, that's fantastic. I'd like to go to Marlena John, also in the restaurant business, Old Town Tap in Truckee. Welcome, Marlena. I can see, let me check my, oh, there you go.
Okay, cool. Hi. Thanks for having me. I guess when all of this happened for us at Old Town Tap back in March, we did the most pivoting that we've done since the beginning of this business. But the things that we went to immediately were, first, we questioned our values. Well, we didn't question them, but we went back to our values, went back to our business plan. We reviewed our mission, our vision, our values, so that we could really be in touch with what was important to us during these ever-changing times. We asked the questions of what our target audience and our community wanted and needs from us. What do we do best? What can we offer to our community and to our guests? What kinds of lines of communication we have, kind of tried to answer all of those questions in order to know where to pivot to. We do food, we do drinks, we bring people together. So that third one was definitely going to be really hard for us to accomplish, especially with the just doing to go. So we decided to do more to go stuff, more food to go, more drinks to go. We're able to serve liquor, cocktails to go as long as it's in a sealed container. We have so many canned beers, so many canned wines. We're putting cocktails in sippy packets, like a Capri Sun pack. And we're doing more to go stuff like Sunday supper, fried chicken dinners for the family, macaroni and cheese, all kinds of stuff that travels well. We've upped our game on to go containers. What travels well in what container the best? And we've really upped our game as far as social media goes. One thing that's really important for us is to stay relevant always, but it's definitely now, and stay connected to our community. So every day we're doing at least a post, if not more, doing jokes on social media, on our stories, trying to stay positive and connected and a source of joy for our community. I think that it was really important for us to know, for our people to know that we would be there throughout all of this, and to be there after all of this would be over as well. We started selling, we do pizza as well, and we started selling frozen pizza. So we cook them in-house fully. As soon as they cool down, we throw them in a vacuum seal bag, vacuum seal them, and put them in the freezer. We sell them straight out of our restaurant, and we also sell them through Tahoe Food Hub. We're looking into expanding that as well, especially now that we're going back to go only. The only thing that kind of stops us from doing more is that we want to make sure that when we do reopen, that we can continue the volume that we're going to pick up as we're in to go only. But that has been a huge new revenue line for us, is selling those frozen pizzas. And honestly, they're just as good as eating a pizza in the restaurant. So definitely trying to find new sources of revenue for the business. We do growler fills now. We're Old Town Tap. We have 16 beers on tap and 12 wines on tap. So you bring us any container and we'll fill it for you. And now we do online ordering as well. We've done a lot of stuff, I think, that has been a challenge for us, almost emotionally more than physically, but doing like online ordering and having QR codes for our menus when we do have guests in the restaurant. We're very about personal interactions and, the community and bringing together people and all of that, and not so much about computers and being on phones. But with all this, we decided it was time to kind of take some of those technological steps to make it a safer place for our guests. Yeah, I feel like for us, it's been really important to stay connected to our community, no matter what point we are in the pandemic, whether we have guests outside or inside or just doing to go. So for us, the social media aspect of all of this was really important. And we're definitely now that we're going into the to-go only again, kind of visiting what we were doing before, some of the sillier promotions, telling jokes online and stuff, feels kind of like we know what we're doing at this point. But that's been really some of the most important stuff for us, is staying connected and relevant.
Marlena, it's so great to hear how you pivoted and adjusted, and I'm sure you didn't think you'd be getting into the frozen pizza business. But that's sort of what we're all learning here, right? You know, frozen pizza for you, drivers for Lori, Zoom for Eileen. Just like to open it up to all of our panelists if they have any questions or additional comments they would like to share, including our representatives, federal representatives.
Caleb, I just wanted to chime in, and you know, at the Small Business Development Center, we see a lot of businesses, and we see the really good stories and really sad stories. And the reason I brought Marlena up is she embodies the successful, she's done everything right. And I think there's a really important point she made about connecting and being vulnerable to your customer base and saying, look, this is hard for everybody and it's hard for us. We're going to try everything. And they've been very open about that. And it's worked. So it's been great to watch that.
Thank you, Kristen. In terms of the resources coming, I think you were saying some of the dates that it's really looking like January is when some of the state monies will become available, and then depending on what happens federally, maybe even later than that.
Yeah.
So this is really about bridging, you know, the next month.
Correct. And if a business is in survival mode, now is the time to reach out, particularly to a landlord or to your staff. And we're back in that March. We're having those honest conversations of, look, I need to shut down. I'm going to be late on my rent. The last thing they want is an empty storefront, hopefully, and we'll work with you. But being honest and open, there is hope on the horizon with different funding streams, state, federal, and local. But keeping that hope alive and really reaching out if you just need to talk it through with a business counselor.
Yeah, what a great resource. I want to thank everyone who has been putting questions into the Q&A. Looks like nearly 40 of them have been asked and answered. There are still a few that are open and a couple dealing with the issue of compliance. I know that one of our guest panelists today, who looks like was not able to join us, was expressing just how hard it is for a business owner like yourselves who are doing everything right and working so hard, and you know, not understanding always how, you know, what about the other guys who aren't playing fair? And you know, that's a question that we've certainly been working hard on, I think, across the country. But here in Nevada County, it's really been focused on coordination between the county and the cities. And I was wondering if either Molly or Ryan might add a bit more to our approach.
Yeah, I can chime in as far as, you know, how we've been working, you know, with the cities. And I did respond to several questions related to this. It is somewhat complicated. I think some people are getting a lesson in local government 101 as far as who has jurisdiction over different responsibilities in different situations. And we're certainly learning some about that as well. So as far as compliance, business compliance, mask mandates, all of those types of regulations, those really apply within the most local jurisdiction. So within Grass Valley, Nevada City, and Truckee, they have responsibility for enforcing against any of those types of regulations. In the unincorporated areas of Nevada County, that's where the county has more operational ability to work with those businesses. From the beginning, the county's approach has really been to focus on outreach and education, helping businesses understand what their role is, what they can do to remain safe, to keep their employees safe, to keep their customers safe. And I think really everybody, almost everybody, is really doing the best they can. And when we look at what's happening within our county and in our neighboring counties, and I was just working on the question about, you know, what's going on in our neighboring counties, I think there's a couple of levels of of activity. There's a lot of talk about compliance or non-compliance, or we're going to enforce or we're not going to enforce. But I think there's also a lot of outreach that's happening and working with businesses that's happening to help try to do the best that we can. Some other counties and cities have gone so far as passing special ordinances in order to enforce this. Monterey County, for example, does fine people for not wearing a mask, or at least they've issued citations there. I believe Nevada City is considering a nuisance ordinance amendment that would allow them to fine people for not wearing a mask in Nevada City. Then we see things like what happened in the Sacramento Board of Supervisors meeting yesterday, where they brought forward the potential for an ordinance to enforce against businesses. And there was so much opposition that the Board of Supervisors did not even vote on the item. So this is a very, very difficult situation. We recognize the impact that this has on our business community. It is incredibly difficult. And, I think that as we've talked about in past calls, the best thing that any of us can do to get through this is to do our part as an individual, to wear a mask, to keep our distance, to follow the rules. And that really will help our community get through this. I think on the last call, I heard Dr. Brian Evans say the best thing you can do for a healthcare worker right now is to not get COVID and to not give COVID. So really, I think each one of us has a responsibility to be part of that solution. And it's not just about coming down on a business or, fining someone for not complying. I think we all need to do our part to participate in that. And I know that's hard, but I think that really is where we need to come together as a community to help our businesses get through this and to get this over as soon as possible so that we can help our businesses reopen when we're able to do that. And I don't know if Ryan or Supervisor Schofield has anything they want to add to that. It really has been a difficult road, and we are trying to do the best we can to balance all of those interests.
Supervisor Schofield?
You're muted if you're...
You got put on the spot by Molly, so.
You can pay me back later. Except for we can't get him unmuted, Caleb.
There you go.
You're unmuted now.
Okay, thank you. Well, Molly's correct. This has been very, very difficult, very frustrating. Frustrating in the sense that I really appreciate what folks are going through here. I believe I do. People will say to me, well, look, you're retired, you have a set income, you have no idea what we're going through. That's probably very, very true. One of the things I try to do is I tip pretty heavily now, quite heavily, really, hoping to help the servers and the folks that can't afford to stay at home. And I truly appreciate that. I can't think of a worse time for this to happen. I was in retail many years ago on Mill Street, and I know what Corny's Christmas meant to us and how much it carried us through the year. It really did, at least through the next 3 months when retail dropped so dramatically. So I understand that. And I really appreciate listening to the folks today and their businesses and how they've adapted. My belief is that the folks that are really trying to make this work are the ones that are going to come out of this. I know there's some that are not going to come out of it. I know there's questions that probably need to be answered. At this point, I'm not able to answer them. And I think we'll know much more in the next few days. And our next meeting is on Tuesday. I guess the only thing that I would say is wear the damn mask. Even if you don't agree with it, wear the mask. I wish I could give more answers. I wish I could be more positive. And I'm really, really sorry for what we're having to go through right now.
Thank you, Supervisor Schofield. And yeah, wear the damn mask. Where did Eileen go? She was going to add something. It looks like I lost her. I did get our fourth speaker, on the phone here, so I'm going to allow to talk here Steve Giardina, who is the owner of Golden Era in Nevada City. And like so many of you, started off thinking he was in one business and has pivoted quite a bit as well. Steve, please go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Caleb. Yeah, I truly empathize with all the other people in retail and restaurant. We're definitely there. We've been as compliant as we can be, and I do want to compliment the health department and environmental health. They've been so supportive because of the ever-changing regulations and how can we comply. And so they've been very supportive. We've been closed for indoor like everybody else. We opened outdoor or later in the fall, and just recently installed two 18 by 40 tents with heaters and fire pits, and they're decorated for the holidays, and we have a stage which we have live music again, which that's all going to come to an end here shortly. We were serving food and cocktails. We're primarily a cocktail lounge, but we did have a commercial kitchen, so we've been able to provide food. We've partnered with Antonio's Catering back in May of this year, and so we've been using Antonio's services as a key partner to provide food, and we'll continue to do that to go. So we'll start back on the to-go program Friday, and we basically have built a factory for bottles and mason jars, and we did that last time. It's been mothballed for a bit and we could serve inside. So we're going back to that, and we'll be adding Antonio's food into that, which I think will be a huge win for both Antonio and us. I just want to, I think I'm compelled to at least comment on Mally's comments that, and for Ed and all, compliance is we've been talking about this for 6 months. We are not seeing compliance throughout our community. And personally, I don't believe we have constitutional rights to challenge where we should be. I mean, we are where we are because we can't seem to get together as a unified community and make the appropriate adjustments to our behavior, whether we believe it or not, to ensure the health and safety of our community. And so I would implore all of us, please, wear the damn mask. But for restaurant owners like ourselves throughout the community who refuse to shut down, it's not okay. You are contributing to the problem we have. So it's hard. We're personally funding our business to keep 13 employees on staff. And so we all feel it, but we have to do this together. And again, my request is elected officials, law enforcement, and health department, please get a unified effort together to help us get through the next few months when we know it's going to get worse and not continue to exacerbate the problem. Thanks, Caleb.
All right, Steve, thank you. I'm glad you were able to join us as well and talk about what's happening with your business in Nevada City. We're coming up to the end of our time. I want to let you know that the Business Task Force meeting, the next one that is scheduled is for January 6th, also from 3 to 4 p.m. However, if we get sort of breaking news, new resources, information from the Sierra Business Council or the state or the feds that is vital to you, we're going to be pushing it through that group and many other forums as well, the Economic Resource Council, the chambers. Everybody has been a great partner in getting the word out to the business community. I want to thank all of you for that. And but we won't hesitate. If we need a special meeting to be able to have a workshop, Kristen and I have been talking about creating how-to videos on how to fill out some of these loan applications or grant applications. So we're going to be very attentive to the resources that become available and get them out to you as expeditiously as possible and provide you the support through the Sierra Business Council and other partners as well. So with that, I put into the chat that I know that you have many, many questions. We have created at the county a central email place for questions so that you get a consistent answer that has been vetted. Please use, it's in the chat, it's COVID-19 recovery at co.nevada.ca.us. That's really better than emailing 20 of us and we all give you our slightly different take on it. It gives you a uniform answer, and we're really encouraging that. Also allows us to track it. We can also guide you to places where you can file complaints, either anonymously or not, because we want to, stay on top of this. But we also want to really salute the panelists that we have here today, and so many of you in the business community who have worked so hard during unprecedented, as Ryan says, situation, our first global pandemic. And I think we are strong as a community. Having grown up here, I know we are. And let's work together to get through this next month and make sure that we get all the local, state, and federal aid that we can out to all of you. And with that, I'd just like to give closing comment to Supervisor Schofield, and just remind you that this meeting was recorded and we will be distributing a link after the meeting.
Well, I don't know that I have anything to add, Caleb. I
pretty
certainly
good.
appreciate this meeting. I certainly appreciate everybody that's been at the meeting, and I appreciate the panelists that talking about their businesses. I love Pete's Pizza. And I loved eating out on the middle of Main Street. I mean, how often can you do that? So hang in there as best you can. And Steve, I want to tell you, thank you for your comments. It's appreciated. We do listen to you, and believe me, I hear the other side also, but really appreciate your comments, and let's just get through this, folks. We'll be here together. Thanks,
Right,
Caleb.
Supervisor, and may everyone join me in thanking our panelists, Marlena John, Old Town Tap, Lori Flores, Pete's Pizza, Steve Giardino from Golden Era, and Eileen Hancock from the Body Balance Academy. And our representatives, our congressional district representatives, David Morgan from Lamalfa's office and Kimberly Pruitt from Representative McClintock's office, thank you. As always, Kristen, Leslie, thank you for your just heroic efforts. I mean, everyone is always saying you are there holding their hand, coaching, supporting, and getting everybody through this. So thank you for just always being there for us and everyone else in the community. And finally, Molly and Ryan, thank you so much for always joining these calls and having such important information. So with that, we'll end the recording and have a good afternoon and wear the damn mask. Thank you.